Stranger Things, a show that we've grown to love for the past 6 years, is slowly nearing its end. Right now, we're at the penultimate season of the series, as the Duffer Brothers have confirmed that Season 5 will be the last season. And as is custom for TV shows of this caliber, whenever a series is nearing its end, it usually means that we'll see a lot of character arcs closing, as to bring us, the viewers, closure before the show ends. Now, character arcs can end in many different ways, and no previous season in Stranger Things history has left us with this many plot threads for different characters. Plot threads that will lead to an inevitable conclusion, and there is no stronger conclusion to a character arc than, well, death. So with all this said, will we be seeing one or several characters perish in the season finale? Well, it's definitely strongly hinted at. But then who out of our beloved Hawkins gang could be snuffed out before the end of the series? Well, I might have some ideas. And who better to start with than the original star of the show, Eleven. Now, Eleven swept fans off their feet with her sympathetic character ever since Season 1. This quiet girl with an innocent nature and love for egos has evolved from a tormented test subject into a fully fledged hero, who time and time again has saved her friends whenever in need. Now, both her popularity as a character and her penchant for saving the day could actually be the two main reasons to why we'll see her journey end in the Season 4 finale. As some of you may know, Millie Bobby Brown has been busy with other projects than Stranger Things, and two fairly recent roles for her have been as one of the main characters in the legendary Godzilla movies, as well as playing Sherlock Holmes' younger sister, Enola Holmes. And thing is, she has several movies coming out in the relative near future, so staying as a recurring character on Stranger Things could complicate things for her schedule. Now, the other thing I mentioned is the fact that she has already been the hero of the story several times. Without Eleven's help so far in the story, Hawkins would have been screwed, especially during Season 2. Eleven is the main reason that the Hawkins gang have been able to fight back against the Mind Flayer and the Upside Down several times. And if she sacrifices her life in her inevitable confrontation with Vecna, the rest of the gang would have to learn how to survive without her against any future threats they might have to face. Not to mention the fitting way that her story could wrap up during a fight against someone she once considered a friend and an equal. Now, the interesting thing here is that even if we look at Eleven's character arc throughout the series as a whole, there are other characters that I'd argue are even more strongly hinted at possibly losing their lives in the season finale. You might have noticed that basically every main character in the show has had some form of a challenge that they've had to overcome this season. Eleven has had difficulty readjusting to a different area, as well as not fitting in at her new school. Mike, in turn, has a hard time telling Eleven that he loves her, even if he wants to say it, which affects not only Eleven but Mike as well. Will, being the third wheel, has to come to grips with his own sexuality, something that he seemingly wants to open up about but refrains from doing. Lucas is probably one of the only individuals so far that seems to have a semi-finished character arc. He went from trying to fit in with the popular crowd to joining his old friends again in the fight against pure evil. And nothing speaks more loudly of this than his complete devotion to Max, whom he tells several times that he's there for. This, of course, moves us to Max herself, who again seems to have completed her arc. We saw how she felt immense guilt over Billy's death up until episode 4, called Dear Billy, where she is really close to getting killed by Vecna, but her friends arrive to save the day. We see her literally running up that hill as she finds a glimmer of hope when she sees her friends fighting for her, and so she decides to do the same, and survives. Now, I've seen several people say that they think that Max will die during the finale, but I would say that the entirety of episode 4 says otherwise, because her character arc is completed. She's stronger than ever, and her dying after having us scared to death in episode 4 would be a really cheap-ass thing to do, and wouldn't feel as impactful anymore. Now, looking at Joyce, Robin, Dustin, Erica, and Argyle, these four haven't exactly had any real implied character arcs in my opinion, and they provide some much-needed humor to the show, so I'd say that the chances of them dying are close to 0%. Now, there are a couple of other characters that I'd say are teetering close to getting killed off. These are of course Steve, Nancy, Jonathan, Eddie, and Hopper. Steve is the most obvious one here and probably the character that most people are expecting to die this season, purely because of the injuries received during his fight with the Demo Bats. We've also seen that there is a fire between him and Nancy that is rekindling, and the fact that Vecna closed Nancy off from her body right before entering the portal out of the Upside Down, Steve's reaction seems to suggest that he will be the one to save her, but maybe in so doing, he could lose his life. Jonathan is one of those characters that I'm not really sure either way. On one hand, he hasn't really been used to much this season, and the fact that Steve and Nancy seem to be falling for each other again could suggest that he either loses his life during the finale or surprises us with some trick up his sleeve. Now, the two most likely to lose their lives in my opinion are either Eddie or Hopper. Hopper because he cryptically says over in Russia that he might still be useful in helping Eleven. But his death could also come off sort of cheap since all of the effort that went into saving him, as well as the fact that his character arc was thought to have ended in Season 3, where he, just like Max, had a close call with death. Now all of this leaves Eddie, the newest member of the group, and a fan favorite. This could be reason enough to not kill him off, because he's a fresh addition to the team. Thing is, he already has a lot of baggage. First of all, the guy is wanted for murder not only by the police, but the population of Hawkins. The only way to have his name cleared would be if everyone in Hawkins were shown what is really going on in the fight against Vecna and the Mind Flayer, which is unlikely to happen. Then we also have the Volume 2 teaser that released just recently, where we see Eddie rocking it out with his guitar, which clearly spells out that he'll be fighting Vecna through the power of heavy metal. While this scene is obviously going to be epic as hell, and I'll probably ugly cry like Peter Parker seeing Uncle Ben lying on the sidewalk, it's even worse when you consider the possibility that he might be a character that the Duffer Bros knew were going to be a new fan favorite, but who will also go out in a blaze of glory as he saves all of his old and new friends. Sort of like what Rengoku did in the Demon Slayer series, which would cement Eddie as a really memorable character, but who was short-lived. In the end, his character arc is the most obvious. Eddie himself states that he's the one who always runs, and if the teaser is to be taken at face value, he will finally stop running. But hey, is it even possible that everyone survives the finale to fight for the final season of Stranger Things? Let me know in the comments below. Have a good one. I'm out.